Okay, let's see. There you go. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh my god. This is the one aspect of the two screens business I've never enjoyed. Howdy, Xavier. Good to see you there. There we go. All right. Okay. All right, getting the last bits of the astrologer stuff wrapped up. Now it's, I think I've got the last of the data points all incorporated. We still just have to kind of figure out what we're going to do about all the, oh, there we go. What we're going to do about, come on, work. There we go. Right? There we go. What we're going to have to do about all of the transitions between pieces. That's probably the biggest thing, is figuring out, okay, how am I going to now string some of these sections together? Gonna have to think that one over quite a bit. Did a few updates to Dark Souls as well, because some of the DS3 stuff. I mean, I'm starting to compile a list of things I'd like to expand on. Like, I'd like to go a little bit more in depth onto Klimt and stuff. Just a little bit more. Just mine a little bit more out of that old fossil. And then yeah, and then there's the Eclipse and stuff as well. But after that, it's like, okay, Bloodborne, we got that all sorted. Good. Now, what am I going to do about the next few posts for Elden Ring? After Astrologers, it's probably going to be Fire Giants. Nox needs to at some point get done, because obviously, especially with Astrologers, I keep referencing them. I keep going back to them. So that's going to need to be... That's going to need to be dealt with. Like I said, probably not going to touch demigods unless I get the itch to do a Melania or a Moog. And hopefully they're as short as I believe they are. Because if they're like, you know, north of 20 pages, oh boy. That's not going to be fun. There we go. Oh, I still need to get in contact with Smotown, ask him if he wants anything regarding Hornsent. I can't forget that. I have to make sure. Have to make sure that he's got everything he wants for his... I guess... I don't remember if he did a Hornsent video before, but if he did, I guess he's doing an updated one now. Nothing new here, right? Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, I think we covered all the stuff we want for Fire Giants, right? Because, like, all we have left here... Right, like, we have the two bodies there. We have the skull there. Two bodies there. One body there, and there's nothing really item-wise to associate them with. I'll be honest, I thought there was more trees on these guys, but really it's not. It's like that has to be one, right? So it's like it's more on this scale. Well, it's like 2, 3, 4. That one's kind of borderline, but I think it's safe. And this one's like what? 1, 2 in the eye sockets. 3. Like, it's really not. Those conifers aren't growing that much. There we go. Stuck in the annals of lore. Not the anals, the annals. Annals! Good day to you, Mania, or Mania. I still don't know how I should be saying that. What's your favorite god in ER? Moons and Greater Will counts too. Okay, Do demigods count? Um, if so, I'd probably pick like Morgott. But if we're limiting it to like actual gods, I guess Marika. I don't really have much of an opinion on any of the outer gods and all that stuff. I guess Shabriri can be fun. I do love my chaos. Take the world. Yeah, I can't think of anything else in Caelid related to giants that we can really mine. I mean, we've covered... We've covered the land octopuses, crabs, land squirts, dragonflies, and dogs and crows, duh, but is there one more I'm forgetting? Scarabs, that's the one. Yeah, scarabs. Like, we covered the scarabs. So I think that's all the relevant ones here. I'd say Meter if she counts. Okay, I'll say this. I like Meter's design. Maybe it's because I'm just not deep enough in her lore. But I don't feel that strongly attached. But then again, I feel that way about Ymir's questline in general. Like, it just doesn't leave an impression on me the same way that, say, a Mikolash does, you know? It's like, oh, he's crazy. But then again, I can say that with a lot of Elden Ring stuff, where I'm like, they try so hard to go in so deep, and it's just inferior to what came before. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing else really to add on the giant side. And I don't think I'm forgetting anything ancillary that would belong here. I guess I should probably mention the Arabic influences that we're seeing. Like Keelam comes from Turkish. Celia or Saria. I think it's just Arabic, but might be misremembering. And then you got like the ancient Persian windmill thing. And then, of course, all the other Eastern, quote-unquote, stuff that you can find here in this area. So it's very clear they're going for, like, you know, Middle Eastern, you know, like Muslim Golden Age, or I guess Ottomans, almost, you could say. Type of vibe versus the very Christian West sort of university feel of Liurnia. That's what I'd say about Mikolash. Nah, man. Mikolash the goat. Yeah, all we really have would be the Nox stuff, but again, that's, like I said, that's gotta all go under Nox. Same with the windows and things, and that's unrelated to what we're looking for. Crystal stuff is added very nicely. From arch to arch, as I said. Yeah. Yeah, so I think we've exhausted this area of all the giant stuff. The only thing really left that I don't remember if I've mentioned yet is the glass smithing stone that we can encounter here. You got everything you wanted in HSR? Let's see. I got Himeko. I got her light cone. I got Sparksy's light cone, and I got, by extension, Gilgamesh's light cone. So yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. Like, that's basically everything I wanted on my list. And it didn't cost me that much, honestly. Like, I think in total, I got, like, I think I spent only, like, 200, maybe 220 pulls, like, on all of that. And, like, the one time I lost my 75-25 on the light cone, I got it back after, like, 20 pulls. So, like, it was, like, barely even a loss. So, overall, yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied. The problem is going to be next patch. Because I know for a fact they're going to rerun Ashvale alongside Aventurine's SP. So I am going to be so screwed. Like, it's going to come down to the wire for me to get both of them. I just know it. And then even if I do get both of them with obscene luck, like no 50-50 losses or anything to really drain me dry, I'm still going to have to... I still don't know if I can get Pearl. That one we're gonna have to see. Pearl, I might have to wait for rerun, but otherwise, I think after Pearl, I'm just gonna be saving. I think we're just saving for whatever they're coming for next version. Pulled for any fake characters? No, I will. Again, I am not a fan of collabs, generally speaking. Like, for me, the most I like about collabs is like when it's a guest character in a fighting game or something. And even that I consider like dicey. It's more so like, it's like, you know, it's been done for so long, whatever, it's tradition at this point. But generally speaking, I prefer my games to not mix franchises. So I just on principle alone, I wouldn't be interested in that. Granted, I will admit, if they ever do a Trails collab, I'm probably gonna break. You give me Estelle and Joshua, like, damn, I might wail for that. So, like, if they, I guess if they find the right collab, they'll get me. But generally speaking, I tend to not participate in those as far as like, you know, getting all the characters or any of that stuff. No money spent on my my polls or anything. I still got my supply from way back. I got my emergency dot funds, just waiting for that Kafka rerun. Yeah. Nothing. Okay, we can move on from here. And then... that's all covered. That's not relevant. Nothing really in Farm Azula that's relevant besides, of course, the smithing stones. The messed up Reen's design? I liked it, so I don't know what was so messed up about it. Personally, I think Gilgamesh's I think could be better, personally. Like I've been fine with like all the designs they've done, but I feel like Gilgi's like the one where I'm just like, like what the hell? Like I think it's mostly the upper half, right? Like the lower half, it's like, okay, yeah, I can feel like the Arabic theme and all that. So like I can kind of like get the idea of what they're going for him. But then like the upper half, I'm like, you just look like a stripper. Like you look like you should be pole dancing or something. Like what the hell are you doing in my game? But hey, he's free, so can't say no to a free stripper, I guess. Yeah, and then some water over here. Do you, in general, spend money on HSR? I've stopped doing the battle pass because I'm at a point where I just don't see any value in it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've spent at least a good 1,000 over, what, 3-4 years? For sure. Like, I'm pretty open to spending on the $5 a patch, like, little, or no, was it, you know, $5 30-day little thing, because that, I think that has good value to it. But outside of that, it would just have to be like, hey, if I'm gonna whale, which I'm whaling for Kafka, I'll spend like the 200 or whatever. I think I remember having to spend like a little extra one time because we ran out of those emergency funds. Strippers in my anime games, it's more likely than you think. But yeah, not as much recently because I just don't, like, I feel like I'm pretty happy with what I've got. As I memed, I would wail for Kafka, and I in fact did, so. During your first ER run, what was your most stupid theory? The kind you look back now and think, did I really say that? Oh, that one's gonna be tough. One, because of my memory. My goldfish memory is not going to help me there on the remembering part. Oh, speaking of the remembering part, I did not remember. Oh, it's a crimson too. Fascinating. Huh. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. Okay, so when it comes to like theories and stuff like that, I don't remember them all, and two, my I'm very hesitant with ER because it's so big and so vast. So like for the longest time, for example, I wouldn't comment on really on, like, you know, the role Marika might be playing in our Tarnished journey or something like that, because I just hadn't seen the full narrative really play out to really get a sense, right? So sometimes people would be like saying things or whatever, and they're like, I'll be like, oh, maybe. And now I'm like, I'm more or less where I'm like, okay, yeah, I see something there. I don't know how much it is, right? So stuff like that definitely kind of limits how much I can be like, oh yeah, well that was really stupid. I'm sure though if I dug through all my old content, like, I'd find something. I mean, there has to be something stupid, I say. I'm a very stupid person after all. Did I build tall or wide? Kind of in between for me. Like, I have like 75% of the characters. But I only really get light cones because I only really get light cones for characters I really like, just as like luxury pulls. Like that's why I end up getting you know, Himiko's and Sparksy because, you know, I love Sparkle. And Himiko's because why not for the character with that? Like, I was interested enough to get her, and you know, it was closer to the 200 pulls because why not? Right, again as grayscale. I still am pretty, what's the word? I don't know if I say stand by, but I'm still pretty, like, you know, I've got a foot in that camp. I've seen other arguments and stuff, but I'm looking at it. I've even looked at the concept art for the cinematic, and even the cinematic has the gray skin. So it's one of those things where I'm like, okay. Like, I don't think it's that important at the end of the day, but I can't really say, oh, that was stupid of me, because I don't believe it's necessarily wrong yet. We'll see. We'll see in maybe a year. What would be something though? I hate that I don't remember. Same thing happened with me with Dark Souls. I kind of forgot all my initial theories for stuff I had before I got, like, you know, as deep as I am now into this stuff. Probably. No. That wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't really a theory I had. Mikola, no. The only one that I can really, and I mean I really can think of, is for the Dominula, the Dominula dancer's attire, where I concluded that the design was based on the Erdtree Cross rather than the other way around. I do feel, in retrospect, admittedly, because of the DLC and stuff, that was something where I should have considered that possibility of it being the other way around. That was an obvious hole that I did not, like, it didn't even enter my mind to consider. That the Dominula culture would have influenced Marika's Erdtree Cross design, not vice versa. So I guess that Fia is Fortisex. Wait, is that a theory? Did people have that as a theory? Because I don't remember having that. Unless I was like making a joke before the boss fight. That one definitely sounds funny though. It's like Fia becomes a dragon. Yeah, nothing here. All right, we'll move it on. We're moving on. Oh, we've been in actually, wait 1 second, real quick. Yeah, I've also been thinking a little bit about Ailing Village and what and Kalu Baptismal Church, right? Because Church of Ella seems to me, at least to my ear, like it's just a cheeky reference to, because Ella is like an abbreviation for elevator in Japanese. This happens a lot. Like instead of convenience store, you say like kombini. Because one, because they're kind of long and awkward words for obviously a native Japanese person to say, and you know, with the way, you know, the information density of like kanji and stuff like that, it's just simpler to just kind of shorten it to like, you know, 2 or 3 characters like that. How did Forsex even get in there? Inside of Godwin's like dream space. I have hypothesized a possible Mikola connection there. That it is another one of these things that Mikola is helped out with for the purposes of trying to solve the issue that he himself created by collaborating with Ronnie. That has been my hypothesis. But of course I'm saving that for the Mikola thesis to discuss, so I don't know. I don't know how viable that would actually pan out. That's not theory, it's canon. Oh no. Oh no. No, but like yeah, the Dominula thing. Is there anything else I feel? Yeah, like the only really big stuff where like I've had like a super major pivot is the stuff directly pertinent to Marika and Erdtree's beginning. Right, and all that stuff I don't feel stupid about in retrospect. One, because I don't think any of us had pegged Marika's homeland being a random village that has been in a land sent to another dimension in order for it to be lost to history. I don't think any of us had that on our bingo cards. So I can't really blame myself or anybody on there. Working with what we got. But just the general analysis stuff like that, I thought it was pretty good. There is one thing I do feel I should have thought more about the fire element to Altus Blooms. I did not consider that. I just assumed that it was all connected to gold, based on, you know, the coloring and stuff like that. I did not consider that the effects and abilities of the flowers predated the gold, and instead I assumed that the Altus Blooms only appeared because of the Erdtree. which in retrospect doesn't make that much sense because then we should see it around minor Erd trees like we see other stuff. So that was something that I feel that was another major lapse that I think I could have done a lot better on. Man, I'm really reaching here. I'm sorry, chat. It's let's see, stupid theories, stupid theories, stupid theories. Yeah, nothing there. Come on, goldfish memory, you can do it. Rub those 2 brain cells you don't have together. Yeah, nothing else here. Got that. We got, of course, all that covered. We've got all this. This we're saving for Ancient Civ. Okay, yeah, it's the middle of the night. That's why the bats are out. Have to go watch back your playthrough. Yeah, I have to go back because, like, it's just... I don't remember where I was, like, commenting on a lot of stuff. So, like, if it was something, like, really stupid, it would have to be something where, like, it was my immediate first impressions, like, no filter. I just kind of went out there and said something, or it was just, like, threw out a speculative idea. And then was, like, relatively quickly probably proven wrong, like, just going through more of the area and seeing stuff. Right? Like, for me, the stuff I remember is mostly, like, the DLC discoveries, though. Because that's when it was, like, the stuff, like I remember laughing my ass off when I saw America's Blessing, right? Or when the whole Wyvern War thing was clarified in the DLC. I was like, oh my god. And, like, everything in my brain, like, everything just fell into place regarding all my analyses up to that point. I was just like, oh my fucking god, it all fits. Like, that's the type of stuff that really kind of sticks with me. It's mostly where it's like, okay, I'm seeing this stuff, but I feel like there are some holes, and I'm not making the last logical leaps I need to make. And then, like, the DLC is there to kind of, like, nudge me along, and then, you know. Hey, TG. Put your hands up, you're over the speed limit. How can I be over the speed limit? Everybody in my county goes at ×5 the standard speed. It's a cultural thing. Oh, there's actually something. I don't remember if I picked it up. Be under, like, colossal weapons, right? Yeah, I don't think I picked it up yet in the DLC. I think we'd have to go to my sorcerer, because I've been trying to think about how big realistically the quote-unquote gods whose weapons are being used by the forges, yeah, how realistically large they'd have to be. In order for it to match with the arrowhead stuff. But I feel like they'd still have to be pretty relatively small, at least compared to, like, say, some of those giant skeletons we have embedded in the earth. Oop. Oop. Wait. Wait, I'm stupid. Where is it? Ah, there you are. I see you go too fast and did an accident. Well, let's be honest. I'm an accident. Sword chest. Ba-ba-ba. I have to have it, right? Wait, is it not? Is it not colossal weapons? Or have I not picked it up even on my sorcerer character? That's impossible, right? I have to have picked up the weapon. Huh? Oh, colossal sword specifically. Okay, there we go. Like, if this is an arrowhead, right? A meteoric or carved arrowhead. I don't know, it's still relative, like... Here's a good comparison. Like, I'll be honest, it feels like it would be about the size... Maybe I'm wrong. It's about the size of these arrows, don't you think? It definitely feels like it wouldn't be too far off. It feels like it's almost like a one-to-one match in terms of just the scale. Maybe slightly? These actually might be slightly bigger. Let's assume that this is just degraded a bit, though. But it's like more or less... Like, more or less, they're not too far off, right? So, like, let's even assume that these is supposed to be a normal arrow, not a great arrow, like that, right? And that, I don't know, this golem is like half the size of the giant we're talking about. That still would be about the size of, like, the fire giant we face, right? I don't know if you can tickle a golem. I'm not sure if they have the nerve ends to be ticklish. Hey, I am good to see you. Rewatch Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and that show has some pretty grim things when you start looking more closely. I mean, the idea was like a lot of them were supposed to be like trailer trash, right? Like that was the idea from what I recall, right? Like they were a bunch of like kids that were living in like a relatively poor neighborhood in the cul-de-sac. I don't remember the rope. Huh. Guess it makes sense if they're if you're gonna want to try to justify giant golem having bows and arrows, though I'm surprised you try to justify it. Also, what percentage of the total arrow is that shard? I mean, I would say at least close to half, right? Right? Because it looks like with the way like you sling it over the shoulder, that's like the one, I don't know, barb of the, I don't know what they're called. Barb of the arrowhead. Then what we're holding is part of the middle, and then there's the other half, right? And it all still tapers to that point. So I have to imagine it's pretty similar. I guess the question becomes, when we're saying gods, gods to who? Are we talking about like objectively, quote unquote, gods that exist like in the heavens, like those wonderful spiritual beings who exist high above us with their immense arcane powers? Or are we talking about more subjective gods like, oh, you know, you're the same race as me, but I worship you as a god. You are somehow an uplifted, elevated, exalted, divine entity, to my mind. Because if so, then we could make an argument that giants are the gods. The problem I have with that is what does that mean for the forges, especially if the forges connect to Rao potentially? I also still don't know where the source of the lava and all that stuff in Rao is coming from. That's still a head scratcher. Yeah, because there's all the lava around there, right? I guess the idea could be that the forges generate the lava. Oh, god damn. Damn. For a simple human, giants and giant golems could be gods. Yeah, that's just the question, is like who the... Because we have to also keep in mind, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like one of the golems themselves end up becoming like elevated to a god among the golems, which is an interesting idea, because it gives the golems slightly more sentience, right? Like, say in Dark Souls, you have the same principle. Souls are being used to power golems, so technically a golem is like a living automaton, and you can go really far with that concept. Like, couldn't you technically resurrect people by installing the soul in new frame and reconstituting, you know, reanimating it or whatever, right? Almost like, kind of like, what's the word? Like mecha necromancy. But anyway, that's a Dark Souls lore thing. The point is like in Elden Ring, like the golems clearly have like some degree of freedom. It might be still bound to, let's just teleport there directly. They might still be bound by their programming or whatever to work at the forge or stuff like that, but at least I got the impression that they were still, they almost had like a culture, right? A real genuine culture. Yeah. Surprised they let you open it and close it at will. I'm so used to them just basically being like, ah, you did it once, never again. They also have red crystals or something, which we normally see associated with like red glintstone, but I'm not sure if that's the case here. That's what Selen does. Yeah, but yeah, basically, right? Wait, no, because isn't Selen's puppet a different body? Oh wait, BRB chat, 1 second. All right, there we go. Because you ride the rising gauge per. Ah, of course, of course. It's never so simple, is it? Are the forges part of Rao, or do they come later? Because forges could see these giant golems stay there and shoot to everyone without anyone to command them and say, "Oh gods." Okay, so my impression, based on like we find, so like there's 3 in total, right? There's 1 there. There is 1 here, and there's another here, right? So you have 1 that's kind of built into the mountain stuff that leads, of course, to all the death and dragon thing, right? 1 that's just in Shadow Altus, and another that's at the Rao base, right? Very clear cut, almost in a line, you could say. But who knows? Maybe that's significant for the lava thing. A lot of water here too. Yeah, very curious. I don't remember if there's a source for that. Anyway, I guess it might be part of a sewer system. Very odd. Either way, point is, the way that it's designed, it's definitely not the same architecture, but the proximity we have to some of the Rao ruins, and just the fact that this is supposed to be like the big capital or whatever, and the Hornset themselves seem to descend from Rao as well, so it gives the bigger sense of like the cultural connections. It kind of leads me to think that they probably are, and Night Rain seems to kind of add to that impression with how it seems to freely mix Ancient Civ and the Forge ruins for the purposes of its crater. What was it? Crater Shifting Earth? Yeah, that's what they were called. So that kind of gives me pause. Crystal darts work on them. Yeah, so if crystal darts work on them, then they have to be made with the same technology as imps and the ancient Civ golems, which basically means they're post glintstone. Yeah. So yeah, this could be a type of red glintstone. Could also be fire though, I guess. It could not be like quote unquote red glintstone as we know it, but some kind of fire gem. They don't do any fire attacks though, right? Like they just operate yeah, they just have like singed aprons. Oh yes, I don't know how the hell this was supposed to work. I got what? The thing is the lava is apparently alive, right? Because this doesn't look like it's crawling carrion. It just looks like it's the smelted. Oh, you know what? It's probably because it's from meteorites, right? So if they're smelting meteoric rock, then they're smelting glintstone amber. And if they're smelting glintstone amber, star amber, I should say, astral amber, whatever we call it. Then yeah, of course it's going to be alive. Yeah. There's a Smith script backhand blade, so they existed alongside ancient Hornset when they used backhanded blades. That or the Hornset inherited it from the Rao culture. That's also an option. Yeah, the big thing is just like, why would they design it? Why would they design it with like so unique compared to their other architecture? I guess because there's so many new assets or something, whatever, right? That they would have to develop to make this work. Miyazaki and Co probably thought it was worth it. It's not like everything's new. Like they still use some of the generic stuff you see in other places in the base game. Well, we do know that the Fell God works with sacrifices because it wakes up when the last giant burns its leg. Oh, that's true. That does happen, doesn't it? I forgot. Yeah, he does kind of just offer it up, doesn't he? I wonder if that's why the trolls were willing to betray. Maybe they were the ones always being sacrificed. Red glintstone is associated with fire in a way, as the guilty are a lot of the time close to fire monks. I mean, again, that's like a lore thing for sure. Like, it's more like a Erd Tree Kingdom cultural social paradigm. But granted, to be fair, beyond that, we also have Gelmir with all its red glintstone, to the point that they're like spamming the frickin' sainted buds or whatever they're called everywhere. So there's definitely this idea that fire and blood go together, which again, we do see that also in stuff like Arteria Leaves, right? Like it's clearly trying to evoke blood, and blood vessels might even derive from the blood of giants. And in the course of that, we see that it has this like effect that enlivens, invigorates, you know, the same way that we might think of something like burning inside of you, right? Like it makes you you know, it motivates you, it makes you feel alive, and there's that sense of warmth and burningness to living. So there we go. Maybe since the small giant used for Dung Eater sword is considered cursed. That one I'd have to think about a little more, because I don't understand what causes giants to be giants. So then I don't know what it would be like if you had a giant who is small for a giant size, like, you know, like is there some strange blessing or something involved there that would make a small giant thereby quote unquote cursed? I remember you guys. You two were a pain in my butt. Yes, I remember. I very much remember. A lot of water falling in Shadow Altus. Aren't right card snake spells boosted by a red glintstone staff in Volcano Manor? Yes, red glintstone is used to power up the volcano, and we have to keep in mind in the case of the lava of Gelmir, the idea is that the lava is created by through the consumption of the souls of well, a lot of people, of course, but including heroes and stuff. And heroes are supposed to have like that burning souls that really causes the snake to heat up and then melt the rock around it. So it's essentially the dissemination of soul power into the rock that is occurring and transforming it into lava. So in effect, life and death is intrinsically tied to the blood stuff. I don't know how to square that with the Briars, though, with the Bloodstar stuff, right? Because Bloodstar, I don't recall that having anything fiery, right? But then again, we have a bunch of different stuff that produces like flies and things like that. There has to be something I'm missing. Is it really a dead end here? Huh. Yeah, no, that's obviously gonna kill me. Oh! Well. Their staves are on fire. Yes, sometimes they are. Wait, is it only the ones whose staves are on fire that perform the arts, or do the normal ones also? Are there some fireless lit ones as well? I don't remember off the top of my head. Hmm. Hmm. I'll be honest, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going anymore. That dead end really threw me for a loop. Rude. Huh. Good to know. Golub Man loves his pet. I don't know what you call it. Pet sludge. Yeah, I do not remember how this dungeon went originally, for sure. Is this where I'm supposed to, like, put up the door? Is this where I'm supposed to, like, run through before it closes or whatever? I guess so. Problems with games in ER. How do we know when it's glintstone or when it's amber? It's the same thing. So glintstone is just like literally the name glintstone means bright stone. So it's any of the crystal, like when we go to crystal tunnels, that's all supposed to be glintstone or some you know, effective derivative of it, essentially, right? You can call it unpolished glintstone, whatever you want to put it, right? Right. And glintstone, as Selin defines it, is the star's amber, right? It's different from the golden amber, which, as we know, also comes from a star. That star just happens to be the Elden Beast, which takes the form of the Elden Ring. So that's all connected that way. Yeah, okay. There we go. Yeah, it takes you just here. Okay. Okay, now I get why. Okay, now I get why. Because it's not that big, honestly. It just requires you to figure out the puzzle. Okay. Yeah, and all this is supposed to be made out of, apparently, the same stuff as what we have here, right? And that gets turned into Smith script. Gets polished up, right? Lava tier and Smith script tier. Now, if, for example, this here, let's say this isn't a red glintstone made with blood, but let's say that this was like a lava tier or something, right? Some like drop of, I guess, lava that crystallized or something like that. That could work. It would still fit within the life thing, because as we established, like, you know, if you burn astral, if you burn meteors and stuff, because again, that's another thing to keep in mind. Meteors and stars are also the same thing. They have the same meaning. They're just basically different forms, right? So when we're using like gravity magic or whatever, right, we're trying to manipulate stars still. It's just those stars, of course, are in the forms of meteors, and we focus on the gravitational aspect. So it should still effectively be a lava gem, would still effectively be a type of, I guess, glintstone in the sense, or a derivative of glintstone in the sense that you are taking life, you are then transferring it through the medium of fire into rock, melting that rock, and then solidifying it into a new crystalline or mineral structure, which would then be the quote-unquote lava tier, right? You're calling these that? Yeah, I'm thinking more broadly. But yeah, like effectively these guys would be like almost like silver tiers, but lava, yeah. Silver we know is also deeply associated with stars and amber and everything. So if I had to guess, this would ultimately go back to effectively just being a silver tier that's been filtered through the mediums of meteoric rock and then fire, and that formed it into this. The problem is that we don't, it's not like Bloodborne, for example, where we have like quicksilver bullets, which can give us a good idea on some of this stuff in regards to you know, like, oh, what's in the blood and stuff like that. So it's hard to say exactly where all the silver used for Albinorics and silver tiers and stuff gets derived from. I could see an argument for, like, I could see an argument for saying that it comes from the specific circumstances underground that the Nox have cultivated, but it could theoretically come from anything regarding the dark, the night sky, stars, and all that stuff. And then the real question is then, how do you get gold, right? Is it something where like silver and gold are like fundamentals, and for some reason silver is just way more common than gold? Or is it something more along the lines of somehow silver gets converted into gold? You know, the old alchemy style. Actually, isn't the idea to turn lead into gold? So maybe the idea is you turn shadow or the abyss, the dark of the abyss, into gold. In the same way that you transmute lead, right? Do I have that right? Is that how it goes in alchemy? So that might be the idea of America removing the shadow from gold, effectively splitting it, because shadow is in some ways, it's kind of the more fundamental required nature, so split or not, it has to exist in some form. Well, where the black moon was, all the plants stuff is silver. We also see that though in Nokron, at least around the throne. What if Metro brought silver and the Elden Ring brought gold? The problem is that you might be right in terms of technically speaking, the first silver came with Metro, right? That is probably true. But in general, we see it come in association seemingly with just the stars in general. But like, yeah, we see the silver stuff here too. This street's covered in it, and it's normal here. And I'm pretty sure we don't see any of it here on this side of Nokron. Look, guys, our favorite braziers from Celia. Yeah, nothing over here. So it's specific. They have it specific to like their main street thing. So I don't know if the Nokron stuff is because of the black. Sorry, Noxtella, I should say. I'm not sure if the Noxtella stuff is necessarily because of the black moon versus just because the Nox really like turning their stuff silver. It's even weirder because like you have the silver stuff like here, right? But then just around the rivers and stuff, you just have like this silver veins, and it's like infecting some of the plants. I don't think we see this anywhere else. So that gets me. I think these guys drop Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but these lightning guys, they drop gravelstone, don't they? Like, I'm pretty sure that's among their drops. I'm gonna have to bet you that flower stuff in my thing for Nox whenever I get to it. I gotta remember that for my future. For my future. Gravel stones. Yep, I was right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this feels a lot more like this is just like a Nox thing, that they like their streets covered in silver, you know? Which is funny, because I think when we get to the Nameless Eternal City, obviously, with everything else overgrowing or whatever, I don't think we see any of this. Right? Huh. Yeah. Yeah, so probably gonna want to make sure I include that in the Nox stuff. Ancient Dynasty will be separate. Obviously, the Lake of Rot will be separate. Yeah, so that's still more or less covered. Oh god, absolutely dripless. What do you mean dripless? Just because I'm not a silver tier doesn't mean I'm dripless. Anyway, why would they when they're so close to the best star? I guess that's true. I don't know, for me it seems like the silver stuff is kind of just something, again, I don't know if it's just darkness itself can derive the silver from it, but it definitely seems like the night sky stuff with the stars, it's just all of that has silver except when it's gold, and the question is really, okay, well, why is gold an exception? And like I said, maybe because the idea is that it's derived from the shadow. The problem is I feel like the stars also have to be derived from the shadow because they come from the greater will, and the greater will is the abyss, right? So the abyss of space, the void. No, Sword of Darkness is golden. Is it actually? I do not remember how the individual designs for the swords looked. Woo! There we go. Had to crack a bone there. And then, yeah, the thing... Most of the stuff with Nox is gonna be just dissecting the history for these cities, for sure. And we've got most of the ancillary stuff covered. I probably want to double check the items at some point just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I think, yeah, it already has deep root covered. Oh, sorry, Chad, I'm yawning again today. I don't know. Maybe it's because I ate, but sitting here is making me a little sleepy. The icons actually don't show the gold much at all. That's probably why I never noticed it then. It also has the destined death hit effect, not the status effect. Is the hit effect just like it gives off like a shadowy wisp? Or is it more like Malekith's does like a little red flame thing? Yeah, okay. Also, completely missed that item up there. That's a shocker. Maybe not really, I can't say that I probably traveled this area a whole lot, right? Yeah, the sevens and stuff. Noxtella gets them from Zakarian. I don't remember if Nokron gets any of the glassmithing stone. It's the black and red splash effect, the same as with any destined death weapon. Okay, cool. Cool. Alright, so that's good to know. Yeah, okay, so this is been my schizo theory at the back of my head, chat. So forgive me for sharing this. You don't have to take this at all seriously. My thought process has been, I think that when we get down to it, the cosmology for these games, they take it from a different angle, but it ultimately just boils down to all the same dynamics as in Dark Souls. That effectively it all boils down to this idea of light and dark, heat and cold, life and death, and all that stuff. And it's just not like premised on like something like, you know, like the first flame coming into existence as it does, right? And then the entire world getting transformed because of it, right? So I've been waiting for, if I ever finish this on Elden Ring, coming to the realization that yes, it literally is just Dark Souls again. But again, like I said, do not take me seriously here. There is quite a bit to comb through to come to before I could come to any viable conclusion on that. So it's just schizo for me for now. Yeah, nothing there. Yeah, with that, I have to include the giant. I do mention the large scare, but I feel like, yeah, no. Actually, it's fine. It's fine. I don't need to like belabor the point. Don't need to tell me that. I don't know what you mean, chat. Clearly, I'm the most trusted individual when it comes to navigating us through this game. Clearly. When have I ever steered you all wrong? And off a cliff to your deaths? Yeah, I really can't think of like anything that I'm really like, you know, missing data wise. Like it seems like we've covered like all the basics we'd want, so I guess the fire giant offering thing with the leg, that's something I 100% need to include. So there is that one thing. So overall, it looks to me like next on the agenda needs to be fire giants after astrologers. Nox needs to fit in there. Maybe Ancient Civ and Dynasty. It might be time. The problem is, I might need to do Horn Scent with them, because I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of backfilling where I won't be able to understand fully what's going on with Rao and the Ancient Civilization and thereby the Ancient Dynasties if I don't do the stuff on Horn Scent. So it might be one of those things where I'd have to work on them like side by side. Like I said, Millennium Mogra a possibility. There's also always Mesmer's Crusade. I would like to talk about Rolana. The problem is, to talk about Rolana, I also have to talk about Mesmer, and I have zero inclination to talk about Mesmer. And then, like, topics-wise, because Fire Giants will include Zamor. Dragon Civil War is its own thing. After Farm Azula, though, I don't know if I feel ready to like dive back into dragons. Even though I don't think one second. I don't think dragons are going to be like that complicated in depth, right? They'd mostly be talking about like establishing dragon community and all that stuff as a concept. And maybe talk about like the beastmen and the stuff happening outside. So it seems like all of that would have to be something to consider for the next, it's August, right? So next 4-ish months have to consider work on that. And then maybe, you know, sprinkle some Bloodborne and some Dark Souls 3 in between. Maybe a little DS2 if I'm feeling suicidal. Yeah, because the thing is, like I have to do... I think I have to do Ancient Civ and Ancient Dynasty together, but I also have to basically then do a Horn Scent together. And then that means I also have to do, on top of that, like, oh god, it's gonna be the Godfrey document all over again, where I'm gonna have to, like, I'm just gonna have to, like, do an overview of, analysis of, like, all the stuff, string it all together, and then see if I can somehow start fleshing it out more and find more discoveries from there. That might be it. Fire Giants, I'm pretty fine with. The only issue is understanding enough about the Fell God, but I feel like if I have Fire Giants as a base and I get all that data out there and written out, I'll have a good baseline to understand a lot of what's going on with Hornsent and possibly Rao, because we have to keep in mind Ancient Civs clearly had contact with the Giants, and that might tie into the whole gods thing with the Forge. As is, chat, my preliminary hypothesis. Let me double check. Right? Want to make sure I don't got this wrong. Yeah. Fashion from XHR of an arrowhead that once was part of the old god's arsenal. A capable of piercing that excels at thrusting attacks. One of the treasures of the Rune Forges. Yeah. So literally the most important thing here for us is, of course, the old god's arsenal and the white light. That's the most relevant two things about it. I have the impression that the Fire Giants might have been the old gods. The reason why, and let me just clarify, the reason why I think it's so important to say that is that there's such a huge emphasis on the fact that they are forging and use forges and have essentially spread the act of blacksmithing to others. And of course the act of blacksmithing requires, you know, fire and stuff like that. That I get the feeling that they and the Deathbirds are meant to share the same dynamic of life and death that we see, like, say, from like the Godskins America stuff. Like, I get the feeling like there's this idea of like a flame of life and a flame for death, right? And again, I'm not saying like there's like affinities or whatever, but that at least, like, maybe, I guess thematically you could say, like, that is kind of the dynamic they're going for. And then in the ancient past, then the original giants would use the meteorites for their purposes of studying. Now, my question would be, do the Fire Giants study astrology before or after the humans? Like does the Stargazer village already exist on the mountaintops by the time that... Yeah, does it already exist on the mountaintops, basically, by the time that the giants are climbing the mountains and taking over the summit? A thing to note is the white meteor is shared with the Divine Towers. Yeah, the towers are another one. Because, like, it'd be weird if they're made by giants, like true giants, like the ones we see in the mountaintops. Because it's not like really built for them, right? But again, you can always credit that to artistic license in terms of how they're built for navigation. And then I think the idea is that, like, basically the meteorite arrowheads and stuff are the equivalent of a human Stone Age. So, like, I think in the same way that we have, like, kind of like the Beastmen kind of aping, like, you know, Neolithic man in Far Missoula, I think the same thing is being done with giants. But obviously they're not using just plain stones, they're using meteorite stones. Now, like I said, also, I have no idea if that's supposed to mean that, like, there were already falling stars or something else was going on besides the founding reign of stars. However, I think that's where we're going to put it, because those were all the topics I think I'd want to go through. I should probably include Deathbirds as well in that list, because obviously I think it's becoming clearer and clearer to me now, like, what is related to, like, the old death cult and stuff. And I feel, especially after I had a talk with Acer and stuff, I would feel maybe it's worth getting ideas out there when in regards to that and Tibia and stuff like that. It would be a good, what's the word? Prologue to what I'm going to be discussing with Mikola eventually. Also, the thing is, the mother of all crucibles means they interacted with the giants. Yeah, there is that too. There is that. So if Rao was using the powers of the Elden Ring's crucible originally, and giants were affected, and it's like true, genuine giants, then we could say that the ancestors to fire giants might have been included. Again, this is, though, another problem is that I don't know. They might have to be fire giants, because I don't know if Rao, can be as late as it seems to be, and yet still have that type of effect with the fire giants. I don't know. Rather, I should say the giants' ancestors, because the ancient giants, I imagine a lot of them were not the same. Oh well, like I said, stuff I have to consider. Like, it's starting to come together in my brain as we're, like, you know, putting 2 and 2 together. But, like, it's still a long way going. And hey, if what we talked about with the lava stuff, of course, is right or whatever, it tells me that the more I do this stuff and the more we, like, get, like, the established baseline done, the easier it becomes to actually figure out some of the cosmological truths. And that's going to make things so much easier with expanding the topics going forward. Millennium Moog are the only thing I could possibly see unseating me from that ancient era before Godfrey. Otherwise, I think we're going to try to zero in on that one. And then, like I said, for Bloodborne, it's going to be messengers, and then figuring out the Beast and Great Ones, trying to see if I can organize that to talk about. And then Blood's Beginning will be maybe the last one. Again, I have to double check, make sure there's absolutely zero other topics I want to talk about in there, but I think we're good. So, in that case, we're just going to end things here. Thanks so much, guys. It's good talking to you. You guys gave me some good questions. Really made me have to use this tiny, tiny, small brain of mine. So, appreciate it. Thank you. Talk to you guys all again next time. Bye-bye.